Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitilila Prabhu Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad The Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON and Beauty Founder Acharya Savior of the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Nityalila Pravishta Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad The Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada ki अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की नवदीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई की जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की इस्कॉन वर्तमान आचार्य वृंद की श्री श्री राधा विनोद जी की श्री श्री नित्यानंद नटवर गौरांग जी की श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बल्लभ सुभद्रा श्री सुदर्शन की निता निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे ISKCON ICC Dham ki all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to you, Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Gaurachandraya. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Bhakyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सह गणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हरे कृष्ण I hope I got it right. The message I got said that we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, verse number 37. You kind of scared me by marking verse 39. So, considering the fact that I do very little study, it's very confusing. So, let's read from the verse. Tattvam narendra jagatam tatasthusham cha dehendriya sudishanatma viravritanam यक्षेत्रवित्तपतया हृदि विश्वगाभिः प्रत्यक्षकास्ति भगवान् तव वेहि सोऽस्मि तत्त्वं नरेन्द्र जगतामततस्तुषां च देहेन्द्रियासु दिशनात्मभिरावृतानाम् यक्षेत्रवित्तपतया हृदि विश्वगाभिः प्रत्यक्षकास्ति भगवान् तमवेहि सोऽस्मि तत्त्वं नरेन्द्र जगतामततस्तुषां च देहेन्द्रियासु दिषणात्मभिरावृतानाम् यक्षेत्रवित्तपदया हृदि विश्वगाभिः प्रत्यक्षकास्ति भगवान् तमवेहि सोऽस्मि Someone wants to chant. Vaishnavis, mothers. Someone else? Such a pleasure to hear pronunciation from South India. You don't have to tell people how to correct it. Word by word synonyms, translation, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and our preeminent Shiksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada ki. Tat, therefore, Tvam, you, Nara Indra, O best of kings, Jagatam, of the moving, Atha, therefore, Tathusham, the immovable, Cha, also, Deha, body, Indriya, senses, Asu, life air, Dhishana, by consideration, Atmabhihi, self-realization, Avridana, those who are covered in that way, Yaha, one who, Kshetravid, knower of the field, Tapataya, by controlling, Hridi, within the heart, Vishwak, everywhere, Avihi, manifest, Pratyak, in every hair, follicle, Chakasti, shining, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tam, unto him, Avehi, try to understand, Sah Asmi, I am that. Very dangerous shloka. Let's look at the translation. Sanat Kumara advised the king, therefore, my dear King Prithu, try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within everyone's heart, along with the individual soul, in each and every body, either moving or not moving. The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body and the subtle body made of the life air and intelligence. Kindly listen intently to these transcendental ecstasies of His Divine Grace whilst putting your mobiles on silent mode. In this verse, it is specifically advised that instead of wasting time in the human form of life, endeavoring for economic development and sense gratification, one should try to cultivate spiritual values by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is existing with the individual soul within everyone's heart. The individual soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature are both sitting within this body, which is covered by gross and subtle elements. To understand this is to attain actual spiritual culture. There are two ways of advancing in spiritual culture: by the method of impersonalist philosophers and by devotional service. The impersonalist comes to the conclusion that he and the Supreme Spirit are one, whereas devotees or impersonalists realize the absolute truth. By understanding that, because the absolute truth is a supreme predominator and we living entities are predominated, our duty is to serve him. The Vedic injunctions say, Tattvamasi, you are the same, and Soham, I am the same. The impersonalist conception of these mantras is that the Supreme Lord or the Absolute Truth and the living entity are one. But from the devotee's point of view, these mantras assert that both the Supreme Lord and ourselves are of the same quality. Tat Tvamasi Ayamatma Brahma. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are spirit. Understanding this is self realization. The human form of life is meant for understanding the Supreme Lord and oneself by spiritual cultivation of knowledge. One should not waste valuable life simply engaged in economic development and sense gratification. In this verse, the word kshetravit is also important. The word is explained in Bhagavad Gita 13.2. Idam shariram kauntaya kshetramit abhidhiyate. This body is called kshetra, the field of activities, and the proprietors of the body, the individual soul and the super soul sitting within the body, are both called kshetravit. But there is a difference between the two kinds of kshetravit. One kshetravit or knower of the body, namely the Paramatma or the super soul, is directing the individual soul. When we rightly take the direction of the super soul, our life becomes successful. He is directing from within and from without. From within, he is directing as Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master sitting within the heart. Indirectly, he is also helping the living entity by manifesting himself as the spiritual master outside. In both ways, the Lord is giving directions to the living entity so that he may finish up his material activities and come back home, back to Godhead. The presence of the Supreme Soul and the individual soul within the body can be perceived by anyone by the fact that as long as the individual soul and the Supreme Soul are both living within the body is always shining and fresh. But as soon as the super soul and the individual soul give up possession of the gross body, it immediately decomposes. One who is spiritually advanced can thus understand the real difference between a dead body and a living body. In conclusion, one should not waste his time by so called economic development and sense gratification, but should cultivate spiritual knowledge to understand the super soul and the individual soul and their relationship. In this way, by advancement of knowledge, one can achieve liberation and the ultimate goal of life. It is said that if one takes to the path of liberation, even rejecting his so called duties in the material world, he is not a loser at all, but a person who does not take to the path of liberation, yet carefully executes economic development and sense gratification, loses everything. Narada's statement before Vyasadeva is appropriate in this connection. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर्भजन्नपक्वोऽथ पतेत्ततो यदि यत्र क्वापभद्रमभूतमुष्य किम् ओवात्तातो अभजतां स्वधर्मतः. Bhagavatam 1.5.17. If a person out of sentiment or for some other reason takes to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and in due course of time does not succeed in coming to the ultimate goal of life or falls down due to lack of experience, yet there is no loss. But for a person who does not take to devotional service, yet executes his material duties very nicely, there is no gain. Srila Prabhupada ki. Can you just lend me your pen for a moment? I have some vyasas and induced points. Just one sec. Incidentally, I had a pen of the same color which I forgot in the room. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maybe once more. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shastra should be on your lap. That's why we keep Shastra in the laptop. Privileged to address all of you, the ISKCON Cultural Center at Bengaluru. I had come here for a couple of days. So yesterday in the morning, I had a lecture at Narasimha Giridhari Temple. And in the evening yesterday, I had a lecture at Krishna Rajapuram Center. Now here, then I'll go for a couple of Rath Yatras at Narsimhankar Temple and also at Whitefield. And Krishna willing, hope to be there at Sheshadripuram Temple in the evening. So seek your blessings to present these glorious topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam in true chastity to the purports of the Acharyas for your pleasure and my purification. Srila Prabhupada Ki. It's a very important section that we are at, because this particular shloka can be interpreted in any way. Thankfully, Sripad Shankaracharya has not commented on Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are benefits. Although Shankara is Shiva himself, Maya Vadam Asachatram Prachannam Bauddham Uchate Mayeva Vegetan Devi Kalo Brahmana Murtaya. Came as a Brahmana in Kali Yuga to spread Prachannam Bauddham, the hidden Buddha philosophy, Buddhist philosophy. So therefore, it's the Asachatram. And therefore, when we study God as a person, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Chaitanya, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to visit your center. Although Prabhuji is substantially senior to me, we are also colleagues in the ISKCON Resolve core team. So Sanat Kumar teaches Pruthu in this. The four Kumaras, as you know, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanatan, Sananda. And here Sanat Kumara is a very special soul. He initiates, he gives mantras. He looks like he's a spokesperson of the four Kumaras. Most of the places there is Sanat Kumara Samhita also. And you see how he gave the mantra to Maharaj Chitraketu, because of which he became a Vidyadhara. You see that is pretty, I guess he must be the most vocal of the Kumaras. It looks like. So Maitreya is telling Vidura here that this is happening when the Sutas, Vandis and the Magadas, they are glorifying Prithu Maharaj. And Prithu Maharaj tells them as a true administrator that you shouldn't be glorifying me so early, because these qualities haven't yet manifested. So what kind of a shameless person would hear his glorification? Now, sitting in front of the deities is pretty normal to accept that, you shouldn't glorify a person. But just as we step out of the temple, then somehow the mind changes. Vaishnaver Pratishta, Shukrer Vishta. So that was the mood of Prithu Maharaj. So then the Kumaras, when they appeared before him, it's mentioned here that Pruthula Vikramam, his fame was very, very widespread. And the Surya Varchasaha, they were almost as effulgent as the sun. The Chatvaraha, Munayas Chatvaraya, the four sages, they arrived because they were as effulgent as the sun. And so in this 22nd chapter, Sanat Kumara, he explains jnana. Because in Hindi, we would have said Gyan. God knows how that came about, but jnana. And this is why I said it's a pleasure to hear South Indian pronunciation. So you go ahead and say that jnana vijnana sahitam idam vakshamashya jnana vijnana sahitam. That's how it will say. So maybe once in a while I should come down to South India to just cleanse my files. So Sanat Kumar, after teaching jnana, he teaches bhakti. And here we see that Prithu Maharaj establishes the classic example of how a Kshatriya should receive a Brahmana and how a Kshatriya should deal with a Brahmana. The whole problem with our age now is Kalau Shudra Sambhava. There are no qualified Brahmanas, there are no qualified Kshatriyas, there are no, maybe there are some qualified Vaishyas, but they don't have time for Rishi and Goraksha, just Manijam. That's what is happening. And they happen to be the society leaders. So if Srila Radhanath Swami Guru Maharaj goes to Mukesh Ambani, that is news. It's not because Radhanath Maharaj went somewhere. It is because it's Mukesh Ambani. So you can see how Vaishyas are dominating, and they're also not like exactly Vaishyas. It's more of a society of Shudras, Srila Prabhupada said, and therefore this movement is to create Brahmanas and beyond that Vaishnavas. Then it's mentioned that uh, the Kumaras were known as Kumaras because of their effulgence. So therefore the word used is Archisha Lakshitan. That is their symptom. So you see all those calendars and pictures where they put any important person, you will have a halo behind the person's head. Right? In English, there's a usage that he has a halo behind the head means he's holier than thou. He's pretending to be something which is not. And that's precisely the point. People who don't have effulgence masquerade as sadhus. People who don't have divinity masquerade as gods. Srila Prabhupada said that every single day on John F. Kennedy Airport, one incarnation lands. So these Kumaras are incarnations of the Lord. They are Shaktivesh avatars for renunciation. Ordinary personalities. And Bhava is the word used for them. They're the elder brothers of Lord Shiva. Bhava Agrajam. They're the elder brothers. And it is mentioned here that Tat Darshanot Gatan Pranan Pratyadit Sur Ivo Prathu Maharaj and all his followers, they rose up to, like he just rose up to make him sit. Just rose up to receive Prathu Maharaj. Sorry, to receive the Kumaras. They rose up. The analogy that is given by Srimad Bhagavatam here is they rose up as if the life airs which had left his body had been regained. The way they got up when they saw the Kumaras. So the Mahabharata says that whenever the elders approach us, life airs of the young, they move upwards out of the body by standing up in respect and receiving them nicely and greeting them. The life airs return to the body. Now you know what happened to Indra when he didn't get up to see Brahaspati. Technically, his life has left. Technically, so he had to leave his opulence, his effulgence, everything. So in other words, dharma stapana hetu sadhur vyavahar. Every sadhu has to follow what is the proper maryada. Where there is maryada vyatikrama, there is always an issue. And Sanyasira Alpa Chidra Sarvaloke Gai. A small spot is there on a white Shukla Vastre Mashi Bindu, Jaichana Lukai, Sanyasira Alpa Chidra Sarvaloke Gai. On a white cloth, there is one small spot. It will be very, very visible. Shukla Vastre Mashi Bindu. Jaichana Lukai, it cannot be hidden. Similarly, Sanyasira Alpa Chidra Sarvaloka Gai. Sadhu or a saint, a slightest mistake that he commits is immediately visible to everyone. Of course, we shouldn't masquerade as sadhus. Then in Kali Yuga, that is the whole point, which is mentioned. That is Kaitava Dharma. Kaitava Dharma is what is prevalent, and therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam is required to kick out cheating religion. Prabhupada uses the phrase "kick out." Cheating religion has been kicked out of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So whether Srimad Bhagavatam or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can see how people follow etiquette, the exact etiquette, how it is to be done, how a saintly personality has to be received, how a king has to be received, how a king has to receive a saintly personality, how an ordinary person has to receive either of them, how a saintly person has to receive another saintly person. All this is provided. Bhagavatam is a prayer book, but it is also a Vaishnava etiquette manual. Similarly, you see how when we see how Nahusha dealt with the sages, Saptarishis, and how he got cursed, we can see at various points of time in Srimad Bhagavatam how violation of etiquette is also pointed out and how appropriate etiquette is pointed out. Tatviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Upatekshandi te jnanam jnanena tattva darshana. So the jnanis here, the Kumaras, they're not just jnanis, they are bhakta jnanis. Because real jnana is Vasudeva Sarvamiti and some Mahatma Sudurlabha. These are Brahmanas who became pure devotees by how? The association of a pure devotee, which is Srimati Tulsi Maharani. By smelling the Tulsi leaves at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, they attain pure devotion. Now that they are pure devotees, they should be received with the appropriate etiquette. So it is mentioned here, Gauravat Yantrita Sabhyaha Prashrayanata Kandaraha Vidivat Pujayam Chakre Grihitadyarhana Sanam. He gave them an appropriate seat. I just thought it's a Sunday, we can have a quick recap of what has been covered, and then it'll also help me refresh, or these are called warm-up shlokas before I get to the point. So according to the scripture, what he did was, according to the scripture, he worshipped them. That is very important. Vidivat Pujayam. The Kumaras were properly worshipped. So whenever a great personality comes to ICC, I'm sure they are received properly. They are given garlands and all that stuff. So yesterday we had some wonderful devotees. Even if it's not a great personality, sometimes they're received well. Yesterday they received me very nicely. Though we had a huge festival yesterday, I must confess I probably chose the wrong time to come to Bangalore. So many Rath Yatras every time, putting pressure on the local devotees to have the misfortune of receiving me. It's not a great idea. But however, what was done is Tatpada Shaucha Salilir Marjitalaga Bandanaha. Somebody's Sri mobile is ringing. My Guru Maji Solnas Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj used to do, what he used to do was, whenever some mobiles would ring in the lecture, he would say, Kitne besharam hai log. I can pull it off by quoting him. Because what happens in an office meeting, we don't switch on the mobile. In a college, you don't switch on the mobile. And Bangalore has a very good race course, right? It's gambling, but in a race course, you're not allowed to a mobile. You know that, because you can bet using the mobile. So even the etiquette that is followed in a race course, ये तो हमारे राधा विनोद हैं, चल जाएगा. But if you go to Baha'i temple, now you see them before you come inside, they will do 10 times. They'll do this. But of course, we are all in Raganaga platforms. So then it is mentioned that Bhavagrajan, I just said, like Shiva's brothers they were. And also Prithu Maharaj tells them, Aho acharitam kimme mangalam mangalayanaha. Yasyavo darshanam hyasit durdarshanam cha yogibihi. Bhavato darshanam yasmad apunarpava darshanam. Kunti Maharani prays to Lord Krishna as he was going to Dwarka. When I have your darshana, or anybody has your darshana, bhavato darshanam yasmad. Apunar bhava darshanam. Bhava means the material world. Bhava also means Shiva, who is Jagat Pita. So here it is mentioned, Bhavagraja, and then Prithu Maharaj says, roads to good fortune, he says. Durdarshanam cha yogi bihi. What pious act have I performed so that I have received your audience? So rare even for the yogis. So the disciples of Srila Prabhupada asked him, what Sukriti did we commit in previous births that we got a Sadguru like you? And what did Prabhupada say? You have no Sukriti. I have given you Sukriti. And that is the duty of a pure devotee. They go around bestowing good fortune. That is why it is called Ahaituki Kripa. It is not that there is a very specific reason somebody has to have a certain qualification. Bhaktishtu Bhagavat Bhakta Sanghena Parijayate. Bhakti comes from Bhaktas. Bhakti cannot come from Krishna. Why? Yeah. Krishna will be partial to few and others. This is one understanding. But Krishna is bound. Yes, thank you. Aham Bhakta Paradena. Sitakraiva Damodaram Bhakti Baddham. So what happens is that I have said this in the last 3 lectures, and I can't resist it saying here also. That this is something I heard in a lecture in the year 2000 from one Maharaj, I forgot who. At that time, I didn't know who was he. So he says that we pray to the Supreme Lord for car, and we pray to the Supreme Lord for ghar, but finally you are still in Karagar. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is mentioned that Krishna gives everything but pure devotion. Why? Because if he gives pure devotion, he's virtually sold. He has to sell himself. Mother Yashoda became mother of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, because she purchased anxiety for Krishna. You purchase anxiety for Krishna means you're purchasing Krishna practically. When you do that, Krishna is forced to give himself to you. It's like Kolavecha Sridhar was told by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, do you want the greatest of all heavenly pleasures? Do you want the Swarga Rajya? Do you want Mukti? No, Mahaprabhu. Do you want Bhukti? No, Mahaprabhu. Do you want the Ashtasiddhis? No, Mahaprabhu. Then what do you want? You, Mahaprabhu. That Brahmana who used to come and bargain with me every day for plantain donas, may he please come to me birth after birth. So then what do you do for such a person? You can't give anything to such a person. So he is forced to give pure devotion. He cannot give pure devotion, so he sells himself off. And bhakti comes from bhaktas. Srila Radhanath Swami Guru Maharaj says that it takes one to make one. So if somebody has bhakti, he can give bhakti. And in Madhurya Kadambani, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, bhakti comes from bhakti. It is self-generating. It cannot have an external cause. And therefore, when we meet a pure devotee, it is a very, very rare fortune. It is not that, although it is mentioned that one of the symptoms of prema bhakti, in fact, the main symptom of prema bhakti is Krishna Karshani. It attracts Krishna. So when you perform pure devotion service, it attracts Krishna. So because these pure devotees are performing pure devotion service, it attracts Krishna. So they have Krishna, and those who have Krishna, they give Krishna. And that is what is happening. So that is why such great souls, they traverse the whole world, going across, just like Narada Muni. Just imagine the amount of so this is thought I have that Krishna is the power source, but his pure devotees are the transformers. They really transform. Just think of how many devotees did, give me the names of devotees that Narada Muni transformed, or made them devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, Prachina Parishad, Bragari, Ratnagara, Valmiki, Aryashvas, Yavalashvas, both of them. Yeah. Prahlad Maharaj, yeah. So the list goes on. So in one sense, sometimes I think that one of the real heroes of the real hero, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj used to say, the real heroes are the devotees. This is Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, or even the Kumaras for that matter, they're really pure devotees. How many, I mean, imagine how many yogis can actually go up to Vaikuntha in any case. And they became the cause of such wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So we should not be underestimating the power of the pure devotee. He may not perform siddhis, but he can change a steel-framed heart into pure bhakti. So that is the power of transformation, which is why in ISKCON, we don't convert devotees. We transform. We don't convert devotees. We don't convert non-devotees rather into devotees. We transform those who are not yet devotees into devotees. The uses non-devotees, I think, inappropriate. Because everybody is a devotee. They're just separated by time. So a not yet devotee. So then Prithu Maharaj glorifies the Kumaras by saying, what can be not achieved in this world and ihaloka paraloka, in this world and the next world by a person who gets the grace of the Brahmanas, Shiva and Vishnu. Yasya vipra prasidanti Shivo Vishnushcha sanugaha. The followers of Shiva, Vishnu and by the grace of the Brahmanas. Without their grace, who can attain anything? Or with their grace, what cannot be attained? Like by the mercy of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Krishnadas Kavarat Goswami says the impossible becomes possible. And without his mercy, the possible becomes impossible. Sukaram dushkaram bhavet. That is what happens. So then, Prithu Maharaj is saying, people see you as you travel across all the planets. And it says that, very important point, now we are getting into the business end of the topic. Just as all people and even Brahma and other creators of the universe do not see the Paramatma, people don't see you. So in one sense, Prithu Maharaj is introducing the topic of science of the soul. And this is not meant for you, but still, Prithu Maharaj says, poor but saintly householders whose houses, you are just saintly. You are not poor, you are very rich, you are devotees. Poor but saintly householders whose houses give worthy reception to devotees with water, grass, earth, husband and family are fortunate. I don't understand how husband comes through. I guess many of the Mataji will be very happy to give off their husbands. It is mentioned adhana apite dhanya sadavo graha medinaha yadgraha kyarkavarya ambu trina bhumishwaravaraha. So the simple principle is if somebody comes, you receive him, seat him well. If you can give him good food, very good. If you can't, at least give water. If you can't, at least give him a good seating place. And if nothing, at least give them pleasing words. They say that jata kya hai? This is what they say. Jata kya hai? It's like that. Just a little bit of words at least. And it is mentioned that we should offer respect with tears in our eyes. Respect by falling on the ground with tears in our eyes. Not tears in your eyes that why have you come? Not like that. But tears in your eyes. So the Bhagavatam also talks how a saintly personality, when it comes to somebody's house, the rich people don't really feel that kind of pleasure in receiving them. The saintly personalities, therefore, don't even go to the rich houses. But the poor people, they are very fortunate because they are able to welcome the saintly personalities to their house. Anybody knows which pastime Bhagavatam says this? Yeah, Nalakuvar Manigriva. Because by arrogance coming because of the wealth, Nalakuvar and Manigriva, they, like Prabhupada says, Shvachinam Srimatam Gehe, Yoga Brishto Vijayate. Rascal, you don't make use of the benefit. Prabhupada says this. You may have all the benefit, but you don't make use of the good fortune. But therefore, those who have the wealth, it is Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribihi Eda Mana Mataf Puman. Naivarha Tabita Tome Twama Kinchana Gocharaha. So Krishna is a property of the materially impoverished. So the fact that the Kumaras are coming to Prithu Maharaj, despite the fact that he is a king, imagine the amount of test that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put Prataprutra Maharaj through before meeting him. But the Kumaras are just going to Prithu Maharaj. That just shows the position of Prithu Maharaj. He was not just he's the Shaktivesh avatar for Palana Shakti, for administration. But he is also the Acharya for Archanam. So what it means is that all the managers should go to the altar. Or in other words, those who are very, very capable people who are well established in society, they get the good fortune of receiving saintly personalities if they are devotees. Because just like Krishna Karshani applies to attracting Krishna, it also applies to attracting devotees. Given a choice, Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam. Those who have faith will be able to receive the association appropriately. It's like a fertile heart can receive the seed of Bhakti Lata. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj, of course, he's no ordinary personality. Still, he received the Kumaras. And what kind of heart did he have? Prithu Maharaj is not an ordinary person. Of course, we know Shakti Avatar and Acharya for Archanam. But he prays to the Supreme Lord with a selfless heart, that just like an affectionate father knows what is good for his child, you please provide for me what is good for me. So when you have that kind of selflessness in front of the deities, What can Krishna do? He will have to give himself up. And how does he give himself up? He sends his pure devotees also many times. Through them, he imparts knowledge. And as we progress into the shloka today, we see that um, it's not just that the pure devotees come in and provide knowledge. It is mentioned here that they first give the jnana, the signs of the Brahman also and the Paramatma also. Then they get into a part where how can you develop bhakti? How can you develop attachment to the Lord? They say attachment to the Lord takes place by disgust with material friendship related to persons who accumulate wealth or enjoy their senses, by not accepting those goals, and by a taste for solitary living with satisfaction in the self, as long as one cannot relish the nectar of the Lord's qualities. Asat Sanga Tyag Jai Vaishnavachar. Sri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakta are. We should not associate with those of the opposite gender who are materially inclined, and those who are attached to those of the opposite gender who are materially inclined. And that is all Asat Sanga. That way, it is mentioned that Srila Burijan Prabhu mentions in his commentary on the Gita, his notes on the Gita, Surrender Unto Me. He says, when you are in devotion, at least you should have the theoretical understanding that sense gratification equals misery. Sense gratification equals misery. So that is a qualification for us to advance. Prahlad Maharaj prays to Narasimhadev, and this is one of my favorite shlokas in the Bhagavatam. One proper disciple, Arjun Prabhu, I remember from Mauritius, he mentioned this is the Brahmachari shloka. How many brahmacharis are here? I thought all of you are brahmacharis. Incidentally, some of them stay in the brahmachari ashram, some of them stay in the grahastha ashram. So it's meant for brahmacharis, this verse. And what is that verse? It says, Yadidasya sime kaman varamstvam varadarshaba kamanam hrityasam ruham bhavadastu vranevaram. My dear Lord, O granter of benedictions, Lord of the granter of benedictions, Varadarshaba. Varada means one who gives vara, Varada Raja. Arshaba means the greatest among those who grants vara. If you want to give me some benediction, give me this. Kamana mrityasam ruham bhavadastu vranevaram. Please remove material desires from my heart. It takes a lot of courage to make this prayer. Because we know material desires should be removed, but we don't know how Krishna will remove them. Especially praying to Narasimhadev. You don't know how this surgery will happen, with or without anesthesia. So, so we have, like Jesus Christ prayed when he was about to be flogged. You know how he was flogged? Yesterday I gave the same example. This is made of wood, right? He was flogged with a whip that would he would just get embedded and pull the skin out. That kind of a whip. When they were about to whip him, Jesus Christ just simply said this, my heart is ready, my Father. So when our heart is ready for real purification, then we should ask for it. Till then, just take sadhu sangha. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena can be later. Just tadviti and pranipatena. Prakrishta rupena nipatena. Follow obeisances perfectly. Worship the person perfectly. Okay, what's my cutoff time? Are you sure? You looked at the clock and out of mercy looking at me saying that's okay. Okay, good. Thanks. So, the fact is that one should therefore not associate with those people who have these kind of desires. Because Jaisa sang vaisa rang, they say in Hindi. So, whatever association, karanam guna sangosya sada sad yoni janmasu. As we associate with the modes, accordingly we get birth in various yonis. So, modes meaning the modes act accordingly. Sattvam rajas tama idu guna prakriti sambhava. Nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. The souls are entangled or encaged by the three modes. And as the modes engage the soul engages in activities according to the modes, as per those gunas. So, when we associate with people of a certain guna, we acquire those qualities. It is pretty much the way things operate. So, Srila Prabhupada used to say that you have clubs for various associations, etc. Similarly, we should always have association of devotees. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport to Upadesha Amrita that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has built all these temples in order to facilitate loving exchanges with devotees. Preeti Lakshanam. These temples are built for that. So that when we associate with devotees, and this Prabhupada introduced the Sunday feast lecture and the Sunday programs, etc., because more people could come in and benefit by associating with devotees. So the desire should be therefore to attach oneself to devotees. Attachment to the Lord who has no material qualities and detachment from the good and bad of the material world quickly appear by constantly discussing with increasing bhakti the Lord's qualities which are pleasing to the devotees here. Harer mohus tapara karna pura gunabhidhanena vijrambamanaya. By constantly nivritta tarshya upageyamana bhavaushada shotra manobhiramat. The whole point is bhavaushadi. This is a cure, the medicine for materialism or the material inclinations or the material proclivities of us. By hearing Krishna Katha, Bhavandi Hrit Karna Rasayana Katha, Hrit Karna Rasayana. This is Karna Rasayanam. Pravishta Karna Randrena Swayam Bhava Saroruham. Enters the ears and through that gets established in the heart. That is the power of Krishna Katha. When we hear Krishna Katha from the lotus mouth of a pure devotee, like Bhaktivedanta purports we hear or Acharya's Vanis we hear. So when we hear that in an undiluted form as it is, it can help us develop attachment to the Lord. How do we develop attachment to the Lord? We develop attachment to the Lord by of course having darshanam through the eyes. But another word for philosophy is darshanam. So by darshanam through the ear, also we can get attachment to the Lord. And attachment to the Lord is the only way we can develop detachment from his material energy. There are four types of people. Those who are attached to Krishna and attached to Maya, they are called Sahajiyas. Those who are not attached to Krishna, but only attached to Maya, they are called Karmis. Those who are neither attached to Krishna nor attached to Maya are Mayavadis. Those who are attached to Krishna, but not attached to Maya are devotees. So that is the equation. And here, when fixed attachment or rati to the Lord appears, rati is also sometimes called bhava, a person with devotion to the Guru, he burns up the subtle body made of ahankara and the five kleshas. Anybody can say, what are the five kleshas? Raise your hand and tell me. What are the five kleshas? Anybody knows? Okay. Avidya, which is ignorance. Asmita, which is false ego. Raga, which is attachment. Dvesha, which is hatred. And Abhinivesha, which is coming from previous conditioning, from previous births, especially absorption, yes, but this absorption comes because of previous conditioning, including fear of death. So I will know Abhinivesha tomorrow when I board the flight. Some of my best chanting happens when I'm in the turbulence in flights. So we'll have to see. Because Brahma created those various forms of nescience when he created the material. One of them is the fear of death. It is embedded. So one burns up the subtle body. We know that there is a spirit soul, pure consciousness. It is covered by the subtle body made up of mana, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. Bhagavatam says chitta. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about only bhumirapa nalo vayo kham mano buddhi revacha ahankara mityame vina prakriti rashtada. So these three. Chitta is of course the contaminated consciousness. And the subtle body is the first covering, just like a coconut. There is a pulp inside. There is outside, there is a copra. Then outside that is the overall covering of the coconut. Sripad Madhvacharya gave this example. And therefore, in Shastra, the word Atma is used for the body. The word Atma is used for Mana, Buddhi, sometimes Indriya also, and of course Atma. Because With the entire covering, the coconut is still a coconut. You remove the external covering, the coconut is still a coconut. You break the copra, the coconut is still a coconut. Similarly, it is Atma right through. But in general, when we say Atma, we talk about the spirit soul. So when the subtle body is destroyed, one no longer sees the external sense objects, because His Holiness Bhakti Tir Damodar Swami, Guru Maharaj, my revered Shiksha Guru, he says that the shadow moves because, he quotes from the Bhagavatam, the shadow moves because the object moves. So if the mind is destroyed or the mind is purified, the senses will no longer agitate, or the senses will no longer be even uh, affecting you in a manner that you see the external sense objects and get attached to them. Dhyato Vishyan Pumsa. It will not happen if the subtle body and all its effects have been destroyed. So it is mentioned here: external sense objects, internal disturbances, or obstacles to seeing the Paramatma that previously existed. They don't exist once its subtle body is destroyed. And he gives the example: Swapne yatha purushastad vinashe. Just like whoever you meet in your dream, when you wake up, they don't exist. Thankfully, many times. So as it is, we have enough problem dealing with people in real life. Now people from dream also come out. Then just imagine. So when the subtle body covers the jiva, one sees the jiva as the enjoyer or the purusha, the objects of the enjoyment and the result of these happiness and distress. But when the subtle body is absent, one sees the Paramatma. So in many ways, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. The mind body, the mind soul, and the mind intelligence and false ego, these coverings, because of those we are not able to see Paramatma. Or Gajendra prays that Swamsena Sarvat Anubhrit Manasi Pratita Pratyak Dishe Bhagavate Brigate Namaste. That person who occupies the heart of everyone. Kshetrajnam Chapimam Vidim Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. The word used here, Kshetravit, who knows the field, the body. Prabhupada gives the example in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how an individual farmer will know the details about his own field. But the king or the chief engineer or the surveyor, he will know the details about all the properties or all the fields. Similarly, there are two kshetrajnas, one who is the spirit soul and one who is a super soul. The spirit soul knows only about his body, that also not perfectly. And the super soul knows about all bodies perfectly. So when we see everybody, it means literally we see only the body. That is why we're saying everybody, somebody, anybody. That's the way we look at it. Maybe we should practice saying every soul or something like that the next time. So the subtle body is an imposition on the jiva. Is an imposition on the jiva. So how do you get over this imposition? Srila Prabhupada uses the phrase that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not an artificial imposition on the mind. Because Golakera Premadan Harinan Sankirtan. It's another matter, Rotina Janmilo Kenetai. We may not have taste for the holy name, but the holy name by itself is like fire. It can burn. Even whether you believe in it or not, fire can burn. Similarly, the holy name is no artificial imposition on the mind. It is apaurushaya. It is spiritual transcendental sound vibration. By using that, we can overcome the impact of the mind. That is why mana, mantra, all that stuff we say. Although I haven't still found the genuine quote from Shastra which says that mantra means trayate mana. Some Buddhist sutras talk about something, but we're not very clear. In Hindi, we say that man se bachna to man ka pagdo. The beads are called man ka. Man ka prabhav itna zyada hai, bachna hai to pakdo man ka. So why? Because the mind is itself an imposition on the jiva. So to overcome that imposition, incidentally, when devotees come late for Mangalarti in our temple, they write imposition. And that is to write the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 108 times. So if the subtle body is absent, na anyada, only then can the soul see the Paramatma. Till then, the soul will not be able to see the Paramatma. Just as one can see an image of oneself with distorted ripples in water. You see water with distorted, with ripples, you can see your own image like that. But you can see in a mirror, it is flawless. I mean, not flawless in that sense. Don't get your ego get the better of you. What we do is we see good and bad in men and women, of course. We see good only. We see only good in demigods generally, unless we study some particular chapters of Bhagavatam. And we see only bad in animals. Hey, hut, hut is all we can say. Whether it is kabutar or whether it is kutta when it comes to a temple. Even a guy, which is supposed to be Mata, no, he's not going to be, you're not going to be welcoming her into the temple. Very nice, we worship you, but please stay there in your Goshala. So what is mentioned here that because of the subtle bodies is why we make this discrimination. But when one subtle body is burnt, destroyed, then one see the Paramatma alone, nothing else. We see only the Paramatma. We don't see good, bad in others. In other words, when we situate ourselves in the spiritual platform, we are pure consciousness. That means there is no projection because of the subtle body, the gross body, in terms of our relationships with people. Because Krishna says, Aham Bija Pritapita. When we understand that we are also spirit soul, everybody else is spirit soul, we see them at a spiritual platform. So like Srila Bhakti Tirth Swami Guru Maharaj says that always see every person you come in touch with as if your relationship with that person is going to determine your progress in Krishna consciousness. And that can happen only at the spiritual platform. It cannot happen at a material platform. So in today's shloka, what is specifically mentioned is that one is that Krishna is Vishwak Avihi or a Paramatma is Vishwak Avihi, just like he's revealed everywhere. Pratyak Drishya Swamshena Sarvat Anubrit Manasi Pritita. He's there everywhere. Paramatma is felt as Upadrishta and Anumanta in each heart. And he acts as the controller of the Jiva. Kshetravit Tapataya. Tapataya means he's a controller. Krishna is the controller. We are the controlled. Krishna is the enjoyer. What are we? That is okay. What does Krishna's Prabhupada say in Bhagavad Gita? Correct. Cooperator. Very good. So we have to cooperate in Krishna's sense enjoyment. Atmendriya Priti Vacha Tare Bolikam. Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhare Premanam. So when you cooperate in Krishna's sense gratification, we are really cooperators. We are operating at our level. And then what does he do? It's very beautifully it's mentioned. Pratyak. Earlier also I used the shloka from Gajendra. Pratyak Drishye Bhagavate Brihate Namaste. Pratyak Chakasti Bhagavam Tamavehi Sosmi. The word Pratyak means he shines in reverse. The sun will shine from external. The Paramatma will shine from internal. And he appears as the Chaitya Guru and his expansion as the spiritual master. Acharyam Mam Vijanayan. So we are fortunate if we see the presence of the super soul in all living entities. That way there will be no longer any divisions. There will be no discrimination. There will be no disagreements. There will be no conflicts. Narayana Prabhu, when we see people as spirit soul, there will be no conflicts, right? Then our department will have to close down. So that is why it's important that devotees get into functions like conflict resolution. Because like Abraham Lincoln, the previous president of USA, used to say, somebody asked him, why are you not killing your enemies? He said, I'm killing my enemies when I make them my friends. So that's the way to do it. So when we operate at a spiritual platform, everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. So then we don't discriminate between the good and bad. Like Srila Bhaktitir Swami Guru Maharaj says that there is a good dog and a bad dog within everyone. You have to feed the good dog. But don't look for the good dog and the bad dog. Antare asure badila. Ebe nama tikna khadge. There is asura within us also. So therefore, cut them. That is what Mahaprabhu did with the sword of Harinam. And if anybody escapes, then Mora Senapati Bhakta Jai Cheta Thai goes and brings them. Srila Prabhupada went to the Western world and brought them. Because he could see the spirit soul present in all of them. In the hippies, he could see the spirit soul. When the rest of America could not even see humanity in them. Why? Because he was operating at a pure consciousness platform. He was speaking from the consciousness. He was not speaking from the mind. When we see from the mind, we impose images on people as good or bad. This person is good, that person is bad, etc. But when you see at a spiritual platform, we see that everybody is a soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Jibera Swarupa hoy Krishner Nityadas, Krishner Tatastha Shakti Bhedabhed Prakash. Krishna's own energy. And we are all Ekala Ishvara Krishna are Sabhi Britya. Yar Jai Chakar Tar Tai Chakar Nitya. And when we understand that Krishna is a controller and we are all the controlled, Krishna is the enjoyer and we are all the enjoyed and the cooperators, then we will help each other in serving that supreme absolute truth. Because he is Ishvara, the controller. We try to be controllers, and that is why there is so much stress in the material world. The single cause of stress in the material world is the attempt to control anything. This is what the World Health Organization says. So the conclusion is to burn the material imposition of thoughts on people and discrimination and activities and interactions. We have to burn the effects of the subtle body. Burning the effects of the subtle body can happen only when we operate at the spiritual platform and realize Krishna is absolute controller. Kartum akartum anyata kartum sa Ishvaraha. Understand that Krishna can do everything, Krishna can do nothing, and Krishna can do neither also. Korte parben, na korte parben. Ja kushi taiche korte parben. Se hacche Ishwar. When we understand that, we operate at that platform and help others come to that platform. That is bhakti. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Questions, comments? Yes, Prabhu. Sorry? Yeah, I said yes. It's not like I asked you just to. I didn't say yes, Prabhu, just to acknowledge you, to ask for question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much for a very nice class.
For finishing it or?
Please keep coming to our temple.
I'm glad you said that when Prabhuji just left.
One question, Prabhuji. So many questions, but one question I'll ask. You quoted Radhana Swami Maharaj saying that you can only give what you have for bhakti, and you also
No, only one who has can give.
Yeah.
Not that you can only give what you have. Don't give everything that you have. Sometimes.
You also quoted saying that only bhakti can give bhakti.
Yeah, bhakti gives place to bhakti is a source of bhakti, and bhaktas can give bhakti because they have bhakti. It is not bhaktas who transform non-devotees. It is a bhakti that creates bhakti. The bhakti in the bhakta transforms the heart. It is like my endeavor, mercy of your super soul and my super soul. That is how you distribute books, right? Why will somebody take the book? We are doing book distribution. Who is doing the sales? Sales is done by Paramatma. Because he will take the book, very good, and give it back to you. The sales is done by Paramatma in his heart. His Paramatma, my Paramatma, and me. We are doing our effort. So the bhakti is that which gives birth to bhakti. The bhakti in the bhakta. But if the bhakta did not exist, the bhakti will not get transferred. So both are required. Srila Prabhupada uses the example that bhakti requires three things: the person performing devotion, devotion per se, and the object of devotion. All three are required. Similarly, there is a person giving devotion, and devotion itself is transformed the heart of the person who is not yet in devotion. Om Tat Sat. Yeah. It's only in Krishna consciousness that backbenchers also ask questions.
Prabhuji, according to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji, Krishna is the Purusha and we are all Prakriti, Prabhuji. But Prabhuji, like in our mind, every time we think that I am the Purusha, Prabhuji.
Of course.
What is the solution for this, Prabhuji?
One thing is that we cannot directly serve Krishna. So therefore Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, has manifested as the spiritual master and as devotees. So Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sang. Krishna's devotion comes by association of devotees, root of devotion service. The root of devotion service is Sadhu Sangha. And that happens. So when we associate with those who have genuine humility, genuine tolerance, genuine empathy for other Vaishnavas or other Avaishnavas as yet, their spiritual growth, then we also develop those qualities, compassion, etc., come in us. So, quite similarly, the answer to many of these questions is Sadhu Sangha. If we want to give up a Purusha Bhava, it is important to serve under somebody, and that can hurt. I can give an example. I gave this example somewhere else also yesterday. That there's one contemporary Acharya who is no longer active in ISKCON. He used to be an active initiating guru in ISKCON. And he called one of his disciples to make mango milkshake for him. Mango juice, not mango milkshake, mango juice for him. So she, poor thing, she made nice mango shake and mango milk juice and brought. So he drank it and said that there's no mango, only juice in it. There's no mango. So she went and did. Maybe she put some spices also, some slices of mango also in juice. He said, "There's too much mango. It has to be diluted now." So she went back again and diluted. And then when she came back, I said, "You diluted it too much. I want more mango." So she was at her wit's end, and he just laughed and said, "It's easy to serve Krishna. It is not easy to serve devotees." So when we do sadhu sangha, when we serve devotees, especially we should look for serving somebody for whom we have fearful respect. Fear that we may not commit any mistakes, respect so that we still don't hate them. Both are required. In that situation, we will be able to serve the Vaishnava, serve Guru, etc. Through that process, we'll develop the taste of serving. You can overcome the feeling of being a Purusha and get a feeling of Prakriti only by genuinely acting at that platform. You can become humble by being humble, Prabhupada says. You can become sincere by being sincere. Similarly, you can become you can become Prakriti by being Prakriti. No, don't dress up like that IS officer from Orissa and ask Mataji because I'm Prakriti. Not like that. So, acting as Prakriti meaning acting at that platform as enjoyer. Genuinely, Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhare Premana. Maybe keep a checklist at the end of every day saying, what have I done for Krishna? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says at the end of the day, devotees should do a rain check or a introspection. Srila Prabhupada said, and I've quoted this in hundreds of lectures, that the secret of my success was because I was introspective. So if we are introspective, we will see how much of our day is spent for Krishna and how much of it is spent on other activities. So Krishna consciousness means you're operating at the platform of the self. If you're operating on the platform of the self, you will be selfless, not selfish. You can be selfish provided you know who you are. If you're the real self, you can be selfish. But since we are not always at that platform, it is important to understand that we should introspect. One, every day what all we have done, associate with those devotees who are operating at that platform. 3, serve under some devotee for whom we have fearful respect and take instruction from the person. By serving this devotee, we develop the tendency of the proclivity to serve Krishna. By developing that, we will gradually overcome the habit of being Swami. How can you overcome Swami Bhava? By developing Dasya Bhava. So when you write Soham, the shloka says that Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma. You know the famous story of the Mayavadi writing Soham. The devotee came and wrote DA before that, Da Soham. So then the Mayavadi came back and wrote SA before that, Sada Soham. So he came back and wrote another DA before that, Dasada Soham. So that's the way to operate.
Thanks,
Digashe,
Thanks, Prabhuji.
any other questions, comments? Yes, bro. Yeah. Yeah. It means the effects of the subtle body are destroyed. The effects of the subtle body. The effects of the subtle body are that you see good and bad, etc. But when the subtle body is destroyed, or yes, in one sense you can say it's purified, but the effects of the subtle body are destroyed, because of which you're operating at pure consciousness. Just like the guru is called transparent via medium. You know that there is this person standing up in the middle of Prabhupada's lecture and he asked him, can you see God? Yes, I can, but you are coming in between. Sit down. So the guru should not be opaque. He should be transparent via medium. Similarly, when the mind, cheto darpanam arjanam, when chitta is not exactly, in one sense, it's the mind that we are talking about. Darpana marjanam. When you clean it, the image becomes clear. Prabhupada gives that, the acharyas give this purport. So when we clean the mind, it becomes clear, which means there is no obstacle between the gross body and the pure consciousness, or the senses and the pure consciousness. The mind is not coming in between. That is why the first step in Krishna consciousness is Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindu. The same shloka comes again in Bhagavatam, Sakrit Mana Krishna Padaravindu. So we should do that. That way the effects are destroyed and also it is purified.
Yeah. So basically, the moksha laguta karat, what they say, the moksha, what they mean is that the purification of the subtle body. Does that mean that stage or?
Not necessary. Moksha Lagata Krit is the understanding which can come even in slightly evolved intellect with the discrimination that I don't desire liberation. You see how moksha is not worth it, because you see it as also material. So in one sense, yes, because the closer you get to the soul or at pure consciousness, the more elevated you are in a spiritual platform. And moksha laguta kriti is a symptom of sadhana bhakti. By the sadhana bhakti, it is not even bhava bhakti. So you're not yet at a platform where you overcome the impacts of sukruto anarthas, dushkruto anarthas, aparadukta anarthas, bhakti anarthas. All these anarthas are pervasively, some places ekadesha vartmani, some places bahudesha vartmani, some places prayiki, some places purna, some places atyantiki. So anarthas in our heart, when we perform bhakti, they are removed at various levels, partially, fully, or in absolute, or various levels. So this cleansing is still happening at sadhana bhakti level. So that means you cannot be completely a spiritual platform, which means your intellect has been substantially purified so that you can discriminate that moksha is not what I'm looking for. This is the path that I'm looking for. To choose the path, you don't have to be a pure devotee, no? So that's the understanding.
So can I ask one more question?
I think we should give a chance to somebody else and then come back. Yes, Prabhu. Maybe Vaishnavi's Mataji's first and then we can come back to the Prabhus. Two questions for Mataji. Prabhus has been any Matajis have any question? One sec, we'll just give a chance. Any Vaishnavis? हम तो सिर्फ बोलते हैं, पूछते नहीं हैं. आपको बस सुनना है. Okay, fine. Sorry, बोलते हैं नहीं है ना. Actually, I'm not at. I'm still at Purisha platform. So I'm saying हम बोलते हैं. Should say हम बोलती हैं. Yes, Keshav,
Hare
God, Hari
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Nice to see you in Bangalore, Prabhu.
Your misfortune.
I wish I'll take more association of you. Prabhu, this question is basically for the physically old devotees like me. What will be the position of the devotee who's old and still leaving the body without getting the taste for chanting the holy name?
Keep this feeling that you don't have taste for the holy name. That will take you back.
Then?
Keep this same feeling. I don't have taste for the holy name. I don't have taste for the holy name. That's enough.
Is enough?
Yeah. When you're dying, you have the feeling that I don't have taste for the holy name. What a pure consciousness that is. Just see, Tenali Raman wanted to test somebody. He just said, think of anything but the mango. So will you think of anything but the mango once you tell the person? You can control the mind. Similarly, our acharyas, what did Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada do when he heard the translation of this second part? Namna makare bahuda nija sarva tatras pita nemada smaranana kala etad rishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishamiha janina anuraga. When he heard that line, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada kept his hand on his head and then left. So it's a great feeling to have. Golakera Premadan Harinam Sankirtan Rotina Janmilo Kenetai. I have no taste for the holy name. What did Madhavendra Puri say? I Dina Dayatha Natha, even Matra Natha Kadartha Katava Lokanam. He said that when will I get your association? When will I get your lotus feet? This is great separation of Vipralamba. If at least we have the feeling that I don't have taste for the holy name, great feeling. We don't even care if we don't have taste for the holy name. That's the point. So you're there, Prabhu. When you reach there, please remember me. That will be useful. Yes. We'll take one last question or comment. And
Hare Krishna.
yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. The question that I had was, we say services purify, there is a lot of purification. What exactly happens after that purification? How are we benefited, Prabhuji, when the purification happens?
Because we are Bhrityas, our constitutional position is to serve. But we don't have a natural taste for the service. So like Srila Prabhupada says, the result of good chanting is more chanting. Result of good service is more service. Because while chanting, you are seeking service and you're getting the service. And when you're rendering it effectively, the deities are pleased, the devotees are pleased. That will save on Mukhya the Jikvada Swayameva Spuratyada. That will help you develop taste in the holy name. Namer Ruchi comes from Vaishnava Sevan. So when you do that, you get more taste for the holy name. When you get more taste for the holy name, you ask for more service. So you get more service. When you do that very well, you get better taste for chanting. And it goes on. You see the halo?
Prabhuji, one last.
Ask him. He has a question.
Okay.
Multiple questions to be avoided right now.
While serving Maharaj.
Sorry?
If you can share some best of the moments with when you were
They're all
serving.
pretty bad. First of all, I was not full-time secretary of Guru Maharaj. I asked him when I joined the temple full-time that I can be his secretary. He said, no, you can travel with me sometime. So I traveled with him a couple of times, and a lot of services that I rendered were with him. And he would call me to the room and spend time with me. He trained me personally. Whatever I learned in management in ISKCON is from my Guru Maharaj. He's my first Shiksha Guru also. When I came to Delhi from Mumbai, where I got connected to ISKCON, I connected to ISKCON in Mumbai, in Mira Road. When I shifted to Delhi, the only person I knew was my Guru Maharaj. Nobody else I knew. So I would shamelessly go to his room and eat his time. I was not even initiated then, but he would give me time. But then also I used to send him my reports. I would send him my preaching reports, etc. He would patiently answer those mails. Those are the days he could answer mails, because then things got even more tighter for him in terms of schedule. So that is what it is. But one thing is that one thing I've noticed is that he would never discriminate in the form of service. Like we're sitting in a meeting and I'm saying something about legal, for example. I'm saying I'm part of the legal department of ISKCON also. So he would ask me that he would be discussing something and I would raise my hand. Can I say something? Guru Maharaj said, no, go ahead. We are equals. He says, in management, we are all equals, he says. And when he would call me to the room, it would be, Rishi Kumar, are you busy? You have 5 minutes? I said, my whole life is for you asking for 5 minutes. So he was that humble. He was naturally humble. When his godbrother Krishna Kshetra Prabhu went to him, I brought him to his room, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj. He said, Maharaj, I seek your blessings. So Maharaj said, spiritually bankrupt. So he was naturally humble. And what was important for me is the faith in him for me deepened because of his faith in Prabhupada. He was a quintessential Prabhupada man. Like Prabhupada used to say that Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada was a Vaikuntha man. I can say my Guru Maharaj was a Prabhupada man, because once I was in his room and I can get quite sentimental sometimes. I'm mental, but sometimes I get sentimental also. So I was saying something and I just said, Guru Maharaj, please bless me that I can always please you. So I said, but there was nobody in the room. There was not any other soul except the Lord's Gaurnita were there, my Guru Maharaj deities. He could have said anything. He could have put his hand on my head. He could have put his lotus feet on my head, or he could have said, yes, surrender to spiritual master uh, is a symptom of growth in spiritual life, etc. Without batting an eyelid, he said, don't try to please me, try to please Prabhupada. For me, that was a defining moment in my Krishna consciousness in one sense, because look at this person, not an iota of expectation of name, fame, and honor, profit, adoration, and distinction. He wants just me to please Prabhupada. He's not saying you have to please the spiritual master. Even when I I remember when he gave me my Gayatri mantras, he said, it's quite funny. He just took the Janayu in his hand, looked at me with great gravity and said, "You're from a South Indian Brahmin family." And that made me, shrivel in shame. Meaning he's basically telling me, till now you're not been Brahmin. So now you're Brahmin. So, so the fact is that he had a way of making people feel wanted. And that was one of his instructions. He said one of the principles of Krishna consciousness is that one should make others feel wanted. So he would make everyone who would visit him feel wanted, right from the new Bhakta. So new Bhakta was sitting there and crying intensely in the Parikrama hall. He said, come, meet me upstairs. That was, he would meet hundreds of thousands of people every day. And he would know each one of them by name, by what they're doing. And he would know the details. He would ask you something, then you have to be sure he already knows the answer. He's just cross-checking. Then you better be sure. If you don't know, you have to say you don't know. Then he will ask, "You sure?" Then I'll say, if I say you're sure, I'll say he'll just smile. Then I'll get the message, I got it wrong. So it's experience with everyone. He's been like that with everyone. And um, uh, once somebody went to him, one of my god brothers went to him, this is some 10 years back. We were writing his biography. We wanted to write his biography. Now, of course, his biography's come out. It's in a book called India's Glory. Second half of it is his biography. First part is written by Satyaraj Prabhu, and second part is written by um, Hladini Shakti Prabhu. That is my Guru Maharaj's biography. So we went to meet him, and one of my god brothers, he asked him that, Guru Maharaj, we want to write your biography. He said, no, my life has no masala. I've just built a few temples, made a few devotees, distributed a few books. And you know that historically in ISKCON, the person who's been responsible for distributing the maximum number of books, building the maximum number of temples, and having the maximum number of devotees is His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And he said, but Radhanath Swami, his life is very interesting. You read his biography, he counter-questioned us. So His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj said this, that after His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is the greatest personality I've seen since Srila Prabhupada. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Gopal is always difficult to defeat because he's so defensive. So I have never seen him attack anyone in a meeting. I have never seen him throw rank and file. He has never told me, I'm your spiritual master, listen to me. All 24 years that I've been associating with him, he has never once told me, I am your guru, you have to listen to me. Never. Never once. He's never said, I am the GBC. And he told me, therefore, some 1 year back, he told me that we should all get used to serving without designations. Because at that time, I had one of the services that I had was as vice president of ISKCON Delhi. And I felt that it is a meaningless designation because nobody will listen to you anyway. So, so, so I asked him that, Maharaj, I think why don't I just put down my papers as vice president? There's no use. So he said that he said, well, we should get used to serving without designations. And long back when I was, Sri Lokanath Maharaj made me vice president of ISKCON Nagpur. This was the year 2003. So then I asked my Guru Maharaj about, can I become vice president? So he said, no, your ISKCON's property. You can serve wherever you are, serve. But later on, my family and I got into trouble. I don't know who left whom. That my family left me or I left my family, I don't know. But there were problems. And so I told Guru Maharaj, I want to resign as vice president. What are you going to do there anyway? You're not going to move mountains as vice president. So he cut my false ego to the core there. So basically, the whole idea is that he never served with designations, nor did he ever want us to serve with designations. So that is very commendable. And I never glorified my Guru Maharaj. I was the compeer for the Smriti Sabha's first 3 days. I never glorified my Guru Maharaj because I felt I may not be able to handle it myself. So in fact, it's only yesterday that we had a get together of some God brothers in Bangalore. It's the first time in 2.5 months that I glorified my spiritual master. And you asked me a question now a little bit. I said, I don't want to speak too much about him because he never spoke much about Prabhupada. You ask him this question, tell us any of your pastimes with. I remember Jayadvaita Maharaj was asked once in ISKCON Delhi by devotee, would you like to share some of your pastimes with Srila Prabhupada? No. So, my Guru Maharaj was like that. He would never say anything confidential. There is a book that has come out about conversations with a saint. Srila Prabhupada wrote the maximum number of letters to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Practically hundreds of letters, maybe. They've all been compiled as a book. So Srila Prabhupada personally trained Maharaj in management. And so it's my good fortune, costless mercy of my spiritual master that he personally trained me in management. And strange enough, he told me that you should apply for sannyas. That means he does not want me to do management. He trained me and probably realizes that I'm not good at it. So one of the things about a spiritual master is yuktasya bhaktam cha niyanja topi. He engages his disciple as per his capability. Another meaning of the shloka is he engages them in those areas where they are not good, so that they become more dependent on Krishna and Guru. So he told me way back in 2011, June, after the ISKCON Bangalore case came to the Supreme Court, he told you should type some letters for Dayaram because he's got back pain. This is 2011 June. It's 2024 July. And till date, I have only typed 2 letters for Dayaram Prabhu. Rest is all as part of the legal team. I don't know ABCD of ISKCON legal, but I'm in ISKCON legal for the last 13 years. It goes to show how it's not necessary that you need any qualification. Just hang around. So then you become more dependent on Krishna. No? You don't know what to do. I have no clue even now. If I run into trouble, I call up Dayaram Prabhu directly. थोड़ा कान में बोलेंगे, सुन लेना चाहिए. Fearful respect. सुन लेना चाहिए. I have my senior Murli Shyam Prabhu. He is more patient. वो मारते हैं, मलम लगाते हैं. So I realized my Guru Maharaj's way of putting me in an area where I have no clue. And then once I said that, Guru Maharaj, I am such a burden on society and I'm not good for anything, all those, standard false ego. Speaking more about myself, saying I'm good for nothing, I'm good for nothing. If you're good for nothing, why talk about yourself? No. So I told that. So Guru Maharaj just looked at me and said, I think you're being extra humble. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Kuch nahi kar sakte. So that's what, even when he was in the hospital in the intensive care, he kept giving us direct instructions on work to be done. He said he always wanted to die like a soldier fighting on the battlefield, and he did. So that was his desire, and Krishna fulfilled his desire. He went to the bureau meetings. Generally, he asks me, should I go? I say no, and he goes. This time I said yes, and he went. And it is not because of me. He would have, unka to suno sabki karo apni. It was like that. He would ask everybody. I remember he wanted to go to Kurukshetra. I said, Rishi, should I go to Kurukshetra? I said, no, Guru Maharaj, your health is not good. You better not go. This is 2 years back. So he said, no, but Sakshi will be waiting. Sakshi Gopal Prabhu. He says, I'll speak with Sakshi Gopal Prabhu. You sure you'll speak with Sakshi? Yes, I will speak with him. So I called Sakshi. Prabhuji, please, Guru Maharaj को आप मत बुलाइए, because तुम्हारी तबीयत ठीक नहीं है. अरे क्या करें, इतने लोगों को बुला के रखा है. ठीक है, अभी क्या करें, अभी गुरु महाराज का स्वास्थ्य इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है गुरुदेव, no problem. So I went to Guru Puja, came for Bhagavatam class, and I heard that he had already left Kurukshetra. I just wish that like that he never went to Dehradun. But anyway, Krishna has his plans, and he has been very, very clear. He has given us unequivocally clear instructions on every single aspect of management, and devotee care and preaching. So his will is something that is a ideal model, exemplar for many devotees to come. The GPC body itself, the GPC council, Devakinandan Prabhu, he told me this, that Maharaj has set a good precedent. So I had disciples of some senior Vaishnavas calling me up to check with me some elements of the will of Guru Maharaj. So he gave very clear instructions in the will what each disciple should do. So in that sense, he was perhaps the best manager I have seen in the world, ISKCON or otherwise. I have been in the corporate world for 13 years before I joined as a monk. And I've seen many managers, many leaders, but not just as a pure devotee or a senior Vaishnava or a Prabhupada disciple. Pound to pound as a technically astute manager, he was extraordinary. His options were all very just convincing Radheshyam Prabhu to build NVCC. He was not planning a big temple, right? So what manifested, Radheshyam Prabhu says it all the time. So that's what it is, because he sees many things that I'll conclude with this one. There's one very senior devotee. He's one of the great donors of ISKCON Delhi. So, you know, the astounding Gita, the world's largest scripture, 884 kilos. It is there in ISKCON Delhi, inaugurated by Narendra Modi ji. So when that had to be shipped, there were some negotiations going on regarding the pricing, because if we could not airlift it because they're very expensive. 884 kgs, how can you pay freight for that? It's a lot of money. It will overcome the cost of the book itself. So then this particular devotee said something about the rate, saying that they are basically trying this to make some money, something like that, about the team that prepared the big Gita. And this person is one of the big donors of ISKCON Delhi, devotee. Maharaj did not compromise. Maharaj told him, at a certain level, these things don't happen. So he was defending the team that made the Gita, including his god brothers. He said that you please don't apply your intelligence here. At that level, all this nonsense doesn't happen. They're devotees, they're seniors. Maharaj is very pakka about Vaishnava etiquette. Therefore, he would, and also in dealing with Vaishnavis, he was very, very particular. All his god brothers, he would invite to the room to have prasadam with them. And Matajis, he would inquire with them whether they got accommodation, everything is fine. So he takes care of all that. I mean, this is not a Vyas Puja or a disappearance also, but you asked me that question. I told you those points which I thought can be said in public. So I'm not feeling comfortable talking much about him. But you're my host, I have to oblige you. So, but thank you for the opportunity all the same. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Radha Vinod Ji ki jai, Sri Nityananda Natavar Gaurang Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Jagannath Bale Subhadra Sri Sudarshan ki jai, Nita Nita Gaur, Sitanath Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Before we loudly thank Prabhuji for this wonderful class and requesting him to be in Bangalore for a couple of more times.
Let's know who he is. Before we glorify him, let us know who he is.
So a quick introduction, Prabhuji, so that we can appreciate more and better. Prabhuji joined ISKCON in 2000 and was initiated by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj in 2002, joined Brahmacharya Ashram in 2009, and couple of various responsibility. Prabhuji did mention some of those. I have some more here. So his various responsibilities where he was a zonal supervisor for Delhi NCR.
Not was, Prabhu.
Prabhuji is a zonal supervisor.
मुश्किल से सेवा मिले, ज्यादा समय वो भी ले लिया.
So सबके आगे ईश लगा देता हूँ प्रभुजी.
सबके आगे ईश है.
So, trustee of Annamrita Foundation, serving more than 10 lakh meals to school children daily since 2017. Global valedictorian at GPC College for Spiritual Leadership, faculty for ISKCON Bhagavata Mahavidyalaya and MIHE for courses like Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Jaiva Dharma, Manas Shiksha, Dashamula Tattva, Mahabharata, Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav. Member India Core Group for ISKCON Resolve. Secretary for Organization Structure and Accountability Department of ISKCON and the Bureau, member of ISKCON legal team, some of the responsibilities that Prabhuji has. So let us all express our deep gratitude by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have Ekadashi Shain Ekadashi on 16th, 17th, and Parna time will be 6:02 to 10:18. Hare Krishna. We'll have Jagannath Ashtakam now. And Chaturya Mas, first month of Chaturya Mas is starting on 21st July. Hare
As per the
Krishna.
Purnima system.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
निकलोगे नहीं